It's like this funny moment that merged into something so special, and we both never would have thought that this would happen, that we'd be a band and touring the world after this.
Hello, welcome to Stories from a Room, a So Far Sounds podcast where we explore the inspiring journeys of incredible artists we love and the stories that shape their music. I'm your host, Josh Savage, and today I'm joined by Scott and Lila, an acoustic duo based in Berlin. Hailing from the US and France, they've toured extensively all over the world, garnered millions of Spotify streams, and their music has been featured on national German television. I'm excited to learn more. Scott, Lila, great to have you on the show. Can you begin by telling me about your first So Far Sounds experience?
Hello.
Hello. Thanks for having us. Yeah, so our first So Far Sounds experience as a duo was actually in Sri Lanka, and it was It was for So Far Sounds Goa. So it was for India So Far Sounds during the pandemic.
So online,
and that was our first one as a duo.
Yeah.
And
wow.
So Far Sounds Goa, and it was really lovely. And the reason why we had this because I had played the So Far Sounds Goa in person a few years before, and so they
as Scott Hildebrand.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so we played it virtual So Far Sounds.
That's how I got introduced to it, and Scott's been playing them for a while before me. He kind of introduced me to So Far series. And where was your first one?
My first one was So Far Goa as well, actually.
Wow.
That was my first one.
Yeah,
in 2017.
Right. And when was this?
I think 2017.
How's the physical one compared to the online one?
Physical's always better, of course.
Way better. More live.
Yes.
And you have an actual audience. That's amazing.
Our first physical one together was Paris, I think, right? So Far Paris. That was our first one in person.
And when was that one? And tell me about the setting, where it was, and how the experience was.
Yeah, it was in 2022 or 23?
I think 23.
23, yeah. And then it was in a cool space. I
think it was like a library cultural space.
Boule Pop was
the organizers of it. And it was a beautiful space. It was a big room. And everyone sat on the floor, and there were 3 amazing artists. And it was, I think, like a community room, but also a library, and they had different events there.
Yeah.
Yes.
A library show. Awesome. And so how many So Fars have you played now?
As a duo, we played maybe 4, 5?
Maybe more. 5, I think.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
And
in solo, I played maybe 9.
Gosh, so we got some proper So Far veterans here.
Yeah.
Well, let's take it back to the very beginning. So, Scott, you're from Chicago.
Yes.
Lila, you're from Paris. Tell me about what got you into music in the first place and how that led you to coming to Berlin.
Yeah, so for me, I started playing guitar when I was 8 years old. I wanted to play drums. And my parents were thinking, oh no, they just imagined me like banging on the drums really loud. So like, how about a guitar? And so I was like, okay, let's try it. So I took some lessons from this like community center place, and I wasn't really involved in it too much. Like I was kind of just like learning, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and these kind of things on the guitar. So I wasn't really feeling it. And then when I was 12, I started getting into. I got another teacher who taught me about like the music that I was listening to at that time, which was, Green Day, Blink-182, this kind of era. And then I had another teacher who taught me about blues, and that kind of made me really into music. I started learning in Chicago. There's a big blues history and blues scene still. So it was really amazing. And then I played in bands. And long story short, it just continued from there, kind of playing and learning and growing and writing songs and singing. And
And then you came to Berlin.
Oh yeah, well I came to Korea and a few other countries and was playing music there, and I kept hearing about Berlin. People kept saying, check out Berlin, there's an amazing music scene. And And it was true. Within a few weeks of me arriving, I was street performing, and I met Lila while I was street performing. And now I've been...
So it was really early days,
Yeah.
your early days in Berlin that you met.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then for Lila...
And for me, I moved to Germany when I was 6 from France. And I learned violin for a long time, but it was never really my instrument. And that's why I never thought that I would actually become a professional musician one day, because violin was just not my instrument. And then as I got older, I just enjoyed singing so much, and I got into singing and jazz and this kind of music, and I got into a big band, and we played jazz music. I was still in school, and that's when I realized that I loved being on stage and singing and sharing that. And yes, and then I met Scott, and we started writing songs and touring, and suddenly I was a musician. It came all very naturally, but I'm really glad it did.
So when you were 6, Lila, you moved to Berlin straight away, or was it somewhere else in Germany?
No,
Okay.
right away to Berlin.
Wow.
From Paris to Berlin. One big city to the next.
Brilliant. Well, fantastic. And let's not skip over this busking encounter. So tell us the day you met and how you ended up singing together.
Yeah. So I was busking at Wasserstrasse, which, if you don't know, it's like if people that are listening don't know, it's like a very famous nightlife area of Berlin. All the clubs are kind of over in this region. And so I found out after a few weeks of busking in really random places in Berlin, someone was like, you should try Wasserstrasse. This is where there's a lot of people partying and things. And I started doing it at like midnight to 3 a.m. I found was the most prime time. There was huge crowds of people dancing and drunk. And this is 2019. It was really wild. And I think I did it maybe 5 or 6 times. And then one time I was doing it, and I heard this voice in the back, like in the back of this crowd. There's a bunch of like drunken people dancing and stuff. And I think I was singing a Bob Marley song at this point. And I was doing it, don't worry. And I heard, don't worry, in the background. And I was like, whose voice is this? And I see Lila, who I didn't know at the time, in the way back, just by herself, singing really wonderfully and like loud and incredible. So we made eye contact, and I kind of was just like this, like with my head and pointing to the mic. And she came up, and we sang "Valerie" was the first song we sang by Amy Winehouse, or the cover version of Amy Winehouse. And then we just sang for 2 hours in this. We didn't know each other, and the crowd was going crazy, and we were just singing like leading songs and switching off, and she was harmonizing with everything and leading a few songs as well.
It was a really magical moment, because it was so like crazy around us. All these party people were screaming, being like, yeah, come on, sing. And it was like this funny moment that merged into something so special. And we both never would have thought that this would happen, that we'd be a band and touring the world after this. But it was a really cool moment.
What do you think it is about live music that really just stands out as a performer compared to just singing in your bedroom, for example?
I think it's the connection is just so deep, and it's amazing, because when you hear something in person, it has such a different feeling than when you're playing alone, or when you're listening to music from recordings. It's just, you have this connection with the artists and the audience, and it's a dialogue, and it's really amazing when you're with people and you see their reaction, and you're kind of bouncing off each other, and
the emotion of the song can transfer even stronger, I think, when you're in the same room with the audience. I think that's really special.
And it creates a space where people are in the space together in the moment, like, because they're just, they're not thinking about other things. You're like, I'm connecting in the moment, and I think it's really nice for everyone to be in that space where you're really fully in the moment of what's happening.
Yeah. And it's so rare these days, right, to be in the moment, especially when you've got phones taking up so much time and stuff. And when you first performed together in Wasserstrasse, you just happened to know the same repertoire for 2 hours and just gelled like that?
We kind of tried to find the same repertoire. I mean, we did a lot of covers and Scott was like, do you know this one? And I was like, no, do you know this one? No. But then sometimes we would find the same songs we knew together.
Yeah.
And if I didn't, for example, know the song, I would just do some oohs or a shaker or I don't know, like join in somehow. But we kind of knew similar repertoires. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's a funny video. I don't know if it was the same. I think it was the same night. Someone sent us a few videos. One of this first meeting, and then another one that just came to mind is I somehow broke almost all my strings. I think I had like 3 strings left of the guitar.
That was that night.
It was the night. So because we were just playing like in the crowd, I had like barely any strings left on the guitar, and it sounded like kind of funny.
Power chord, perfect.
And there's a video of us singing one of the songs with really like 3 strings on the guitar. It was so funny.
Yeah, it was Valerie.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, like how do you still play the guitar with just 3 strings? Is it
just the
like
bass?
one single
Yeah, it was really
power
bass.
chord or not?
It was really bass. It was just like yeah, it added to the vibe.
Brilliant. I wish we could see that. Actually, we had an act at So Far who broke his string literally within like the first chord.
Oh,
It's happened to us. It's really hard when that happens.
Yeah. Well, how did you recover from that?
I mean, you just gotta continue. The show must go on. I don't know. We have to laugh about
100%.
it and be like, okay, we just either you continue or you take a break and you put a new string on and yeah.
And for us too, if the guitar goes really out of tune, then we both kind of know, okay, we're gonna do a short version of the song. But if the guitar doesn't go too badly out of tune, we continue, and then the next song will be a song that Lila leads on the ukulele, because we have a few songs where Lila's playing alone on the ukulele first. So and I always have like half of the song. She has some that she plays alone fully, but like How Many Miles, for example, we did this the other day. I broke a string. So then next song was How Many Miles, and she did the first half. And in this time, I'm trying really fast to put the string on before my part comes.
It feels like you know the fast cars with the Formula One things when the car breaks down. And there's a team of like 10 people fixing the car within 5 seconds. That's how it feels when Scott repairs a string.
But you know, that's what I love about live music. Sometimes I prefer when that happens and an artist just takes it in their stride compared to a perfect slick set, you know?
Yeah.
Because that's just what
it
makes it human.
It special in that moment, I guess.
And so from that encounter in Warschaustrasse, how did that evolve to what you are today? Like, tell me about your first songs you wrote and how you ended up, being like such a tight unit today. What I guess that was, this encounter was 6 years ago now or something.
Yeah, almost 6 years. Yeah, I mean, we met after that. We got each other's contact and we started writing. First we met. We learned like a few cover songs together, and I think we had a wedding gig. Either I had a wedding gig or someone had already seen us and asked us to play together. I don't remember what it was. But so it was first like, okay, let's get this repertoire for this wedding. And then we started writing songs. We wrote a song about this. The first song we wrote together was about this encounter called Something in the Way. We haven't released it. And it's kind of like a funky song, but the lyrics are about this like meeting spontaneously, and the sentiment of the song is like, be spontaneous, don't plan so much, this kind of vibe. And then, it just grew from there. We kept writing, kept making music together, and
then we went to Sri Lanka. We planned to go there for 1 to 2 months to travel and get inspiration or whatever. And then we got stuck there during COVID, during the pandemic for 1 year. And we ended up...
Wow. 1 year?
Yeah, we ended
to 11 months.
11 months, but we ended up living there and sharing so much time together.
Yeah.
And we started writing our album and playing so many gigs together and really, connecting on a new level. And I think that's where we really found our band synergy again. For the first time.
Wow.
Brought us together, and from there on, we always continued as that. But yeah.
Wow, what was that like, being stuck in Sri Lanka? Like, was it a good thing? Was it terrifying? How did you kind of...
I mean, it was both. In the beginning, when COVID started, everyone didn't know what would happen, and it was a scary time on the earth, you
Yeah.
know, like, and we didn't know if it was the right decision to stay in Sri Lanka, because a lot of tourists in Asia also that were, you know, visiting a place were kicked out of the places. I don't know, but Sri Lanka ended up being the most wonderful experience
Yeah.
for us, and we are so lucky that we were there and we got to experience the culture and all these lovely people there. And it was the best place where we could have been. And
Yeah, we were basically living in this little jungle hut that we were renting, and at the time, and this family that owned, like, they had a house, and then they owned these two huts, and we were in one of the huts. The other one was empty, and it was really at the edge of the jungle. Like, there was monkeys in the trees all the time, and it was not too far from the ocean. And this family was so sweet to us, and like we felt like we were part of their family. We were hanging out with their kids all the time, playing all these games, and like cooking with them, and it was just amazing. And then every few days there'd be like an opening of the lockdown, because it was also locked down, and then we'd go to this like hostel where there was a few other like foreigner travelers that were still staying, like also like us, staying the whole time, and we just became really close with them. And yeah, right. One of the guys was a filmmaker, so we made some music videos there, and later we met this bassist and drummer, and we recorded a few songs before we left, which are actually on the album too. There's 5 of the songs were there, and yeah, just amazing experiences, and surfing, and then it opened up actually before the rest of Europe opened up, so we were really lucky. Like the last 4 months we were surfing and playing gigs, and this was like, you know, in the 2020, because they had locked the whole country, so they thought like, okay, we can open it up now because no one knew who's been here for months. Yeah.
Wow, it sounds like a much better lockdown than I experienced. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Paradise.
we feel so lucky that we had this experience, but yeah, we didn't know in the beginning either, because it could have also gone the other way, and
social
no
unrest
one,
or something.
yeah, we didn't know in the beginning.
And when we came back to Germany finally, we also experienced the annoying parts of the lockdown. We were like, also, because it was 2020 that we came back to, like late in like September, so we did experience that a bit of that for a few years here as well.
Yeah, it wasn't fun. So do you think the lockdown kind of cemented you guys as a duo, as a musical duo?
I think so, yeah.
Would they even be a Scott and Lila without the lockdown, do you think?
Yeah, there would be.
Yeah.
Or would it be different?
Maybe it would be different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would definitely have different songs, for sure, because we wrote these songs in this moment, right. So yeah, there was a moment actually where Lila almost left right before the lockdown happened. We didn't know that this was before the whole thing happened. And Lila was really close to going and traveling solo in Asia. And I would have gone back to the US. Like, it was like a really wild thing. Yeah. And just by chance, she's like, okay, our parents were like, maybe you should not. And like, maybe it's better if we just, you know, stay here in the one place, you know, you're in this moment. And if she had gone and I had gone back to the US, like, we wouldn't have seen each other for 2 years or so, you know, because everything locked down. So it was super lucky. So there's things like this, like these little decisions that really made such a difference.
We don't know what would have happened.
Wow, that's crazy. And so I was wondering just earlier, why is it Scott and Lila, not Lila and Scott?
We don't know. Many people actually ask us. Now it's too late to change something. But, well, in the beginning we were thinking about band names and nothing, you know, like different names. We were thinking of different names, but nothing really felt like it was right. And Scott had his solo career before already, and I had a few things under my name as Lila Despois and Scott Hildebrand. And we just decided to put them together, and we never really thought about putting Lila first. We felt like it was flowing right, Scott and Lila.
Because like to Scott and because Lila and Scott, it's like
it was a decision in the moment. Yeah. And people still ask us
every
this.
gig, every gig. People like, and there's big opinions about it. Some people are like, oh, it's definitely better.
Damn, I thought it was special.
And some people are like, the woman should be first. It's a new era. And Scott and Lila, that's like sexist. Like we get a lot of, and it's really. I would say like every other gig, someone comes up to us and is like, "Why is it Scott and Lila?" And so I mean, it's
really
it's It is. It's already that. We're not changing. You know, it's like you can't release an album and then release songs and then change, but it doesn't really matter, I think. Lila and Scott did that.
So the album was created during the lockdown, and tell me about the recording process and how it ended up coming out in the world.
Yeah, the first recording from the album we did together was in Sri Lanka with this band, this backing band, the drummer and bassist, and they're amazing. And we met them in Sri Lanka, and
And what's the album called? Sorry.
The album is just our names. The title is just our. Oh, it's right here.
What a coincidence.
Hey, how convenient.
But
Brilliant.
yeah, it's just our name because it's the debut album. I feel like you can only have one debut album, so it's gonna be just the name, the title. But yeah, we recorded in this.
You didn't want to call it. You didn't want to call the album Lila and Scott.
That's a good idea. Maybe the next album,
Scott
and Lila and Scott. No, this is a good idea. I love this idea. Just bring light to it. But yeah, we searched in Sri Lanka. We were like, "Where's the best studio in Colombo?" Before we left, because we met this amazing drummer and bassist that had been in a band for years from Brazil. So we're like, and they were super sweet, and they were like, "Yeah, we're up for recording with you guys." And we had a bunch of songs ready, so we're like, "Okay, let's research the best studio in Colombo and rent it for like 3-4 days with these guys, and we just like see what we can do, even if nothing becomes of it." Like this, I love doing this. Like anytime I'm in an era, either living somewhere or before I leave somewhere, I try to record because you capture this kind of energy of that moment. And I'm so happy we did this because nothing could have happened, but we ended up using most of the songs from this recording session, and and then later when we came to Germany, we have a friend here, Marian, and we went to his studio and we did extra overdubs and mixing and all this stuff. But we recorded everything live, drums in an isolated room, Lila. Drums and the bass DI in the same room, but so isolated from each other. And then Lila alone on a microphone, and sometimes ukulele, and me alone, guitar and vocals, but live. So everything was done live, and that's how we've recorded every song on the album. We've never used click track. We've never layered. We add overdubs after the fact, and of course sometimes we have to move things, like little things here and there. But that's good because they're isolated in sound.
Yeah, but we think that
amazing.
Our music lives from the moment and from playing it live, and we felt that if we tracked the music like to a click that it would lose its spark somehow. So we've always done this. It's not the easiest way to do it because you need a lot of takes, and sometimes the start is good and then the end doesn't work, or the other way, and then you listen to the smallest things, and then the energy has to be the right one, and the moment has to be the right one, and everyone has to be happy with the take. But it's a cool way of recording.
It's the old style.
It's the old style of recording, yeah.
So was that quite painful to do at moments? Because I think doing an album's people don't understand how difficult it is to create an album and the kind of mental turmoil that we go through when you create it. Do you think you kind of skipped? Do you think it was kind of better that way for the process of it, or do you think it was actually more difficult doing it live than with a click track?
I don't know.
Yeah,
because we didn't actually have in mind that we kind of just recorded, and we're like, we're going to use these for maybe singles, maybe never, maybe what. We didn't really know. It wasn't like the goal was as an album, far in the future, which ended up being far in the future from this moment. Because we recorded 4 other times in Berlin, in 3 different studios. We recorded other stuff, the rest of the album. So I think it's just one early stage of the process, because you just have these tracks, and then we know we're going to overdub them. We know we're going to edit things.
And we recorded a lot of songs that didn't turn out the way we wanted them. We recorded them maybe 3 times until we were happy about that. And it's also
3 sessions.
3 sessions, yeah. Like I think we developed a lot since we had our first recordings, because that was the beginning of our duo and our songwriting, and we didn't know what kind of sound we wanted, and that's developed too. So the album that we released is really a mix of different times and periods and genres, and it's like a patchwork album, and I don't think that our next album would be that like done this way, but it was a really cool way to do this for a first time.
Love it. And on the cover, people won't be able to see this listening to streaming platforms. The cover shows Temple Offerfeld on the debut album vinyl. Why did you choose that as the location for the artwork?
Yeah, just like most things we do in our music career, it's very spontaneous. So we actually had a lot of photo shoots that were amazing. We're really lucky to know a lot of great photographers, and I think we feel kind of similar about the recording process and the photo process. Things like just capture as much as possible and see how you use it later. So we didn't actually go to this Temple House and think this is going to be the album photo at all. It was actually we did a photo shoot with one of our friends who's an amazing photographer. We went all around Berlin, and some of the photos became posters for gigs, some of the for other things, and then we had all, and this happened with a bunch of, we had 3 or 4 photo shoots with different photographers over the years. So we had this big log of different photos, and we're like, oh, we were listening to the songs, and we have 5 or 6 different ideas of what the album cover would be, and for some reason this felt kind of timeless because there's a lot of space. And we're thinking like, okay, in 10 years, how do we want this album, our debut album, to look? And so it has this kind of like timeless feel to us because it's minimal. It's just us on a field, and the writing is in yellow and block letters and our name. It's
yes, and then as you said, spontaneity is an important thing for us in songwriting and everything in the artsy department, because as soon as we say let's do this for a specific thing, it's not going to work out. Like when we try to look good for a photo, we're not going to look good. And so works. The way this photo came to life, we didn't even know that he was taking a photo, but this is the special moment that we really enjoy, because then we are just ourselves and not staged. And I think we're both really sensitive to staged things, or like we don't want to, pretend to be something that we're not. So I think this photo just really was perfect for the first album.
Yeah, we love that, and I think that's why you're local heroes in the live music scene in Berlin, actually, and fan favorites at So Far as well, because you're all about the live and authenticity. And but speaking of which, like, tell me more about your global tours. Like, what even brought you to Korea? And I believe you've also toured around Europe and the US as well. Can you tell me more about those experiences and any like fun anecdotes from those tours as well that you'd like
always.
to
share?
Yes. So for Korea, I used to live in South Korea for a few years in like 2013.
Wow.
And I was an English teacher at first, and then I started playing music there. And Seoul is an amazing art city. It still is. And so I was playing a lot of gigs solo and with a few bands. And so I had this kind of connection to Korea. I like to go there I try every year and a half or 2 years and see friends and play gigs and things. And so then Lila and I we went in 2022 for the first time together. That was the first time Lila went there. And just had an amazing time. Played so many gigs and saw friends and busked, and really nice experience. And then we went again last year, right after we had our album release concert. We went to Korea, played a bunch of gigs, and also went to Japan and played 3 shows there. And
oh wow!
Yeah,
and took part at this festival.
Oh yeah, Gwangju Busking Festival, and won 3rd place there, which is cool. So we got like a prize money thing there, which will help for our next album as well. It's a cool experience. And
brilliant.
Yeah, and we've also toured. We did some road trips in the U.S. where we played some shows as well, and Europe every summer we play all over Europe. A lot of like
festivals,
busking festivals a lot, and Stadtfests and different things playing all over, and pretty much anywhere we can. We mostly self book, and so anywhere we can get gigs, we kind of like, oh, let's try to do a little tour and book everything from Wohnzimmer concerts to bigger shows to opening acts, and just like everything that we can play in. Yeah.
So for aspiring artists, what's your best advice for that? If people are looking to book their own tours,
Yes.
what would you where should people start? How do they get started with that?
I think first having some kind of online presence where you can almost like a portfolio, even if it's like one live video and some music released, and then like one kind of we have this like EPK where it's like has links of our YouTube, our all social media, our bio, picture, like just kind of like a basically like a music resume kind of thing. Even just one video that's good.
What's EPK for people who don't know?
Electronic press kit. So it's basically yeah. I mean, it can come in the form of like a landing page on a website or in like one PDF. We've right now we use like one PDF that we upload to Google Drive so we can send as a link. So because sometimes if you send like attachments, people get weirded out if they have like
they don't open the emails.
Yeah.
So
I recommend like a link, either website or this Drive thing, Google Drive link. And then once you have those like assets, kind of, it's really like you can depending on what kind of shows you want to play. Like I think it's really nice to ask local musicians, like especially if you see your friends touring, ask them or look at their tour schedule and say, okay, what are these venues? Because if you're just starting out, it's going to be harder to book a big venue and sell tickets in a random city that no one knows you. So I wouldn't recommend going that route in the beginning. Maybe the first kind of touring way would be cafes, bars, places that have music already. Or another way is if you contact local bands there and say, hey, like, do you want to do a show together? I'm gonna be in town. Or can you recommend, like, kind of just gathering information from people and also, yeah, just putting it out there, saying, oh, and I also have like a list, like when someone says, oh, I'm in Cologne, I know a guy who books gigs at this bar. I'll take that seriously. And I'll be like, thank you so much. And I'll write it down or I'll message them. And just kind of keep these leads in your mind around the world. And then you never know.
Yeah, and I think once you have one contact or you play one gig, even busking,
yeah,
you always meet one person and that leads to meeting another person. Then you get another contact. And then in the end, so many people and you get different gig requests. So it's actually, I wouldn't say easier, but like it's not as scary as one might think when you think, wow, I'm gonna play on the other side of the world, I'm not gonna know anyone, but you actually always meet people and people are people and they always want to help you if they're nice. So it's just always gonna you'll always meet someone in the end.
And busking is really
and busking
great.
is a great way of meeting people and connecting and making contacts.
Our first tour together was
how
like
is the
90%
busking scene?
Sorry?
Oh, really? Oh, cool. Well, how is the busking scene these days post pandemic, and how do you know where to play? And give me a comparison. Like, what's a busking show like compared to, like, say, a living room show or like a live venue show?
So I would say busking really shaped me as a performer. I would say the streets are the best stages that you can perform on and practice, because
why
it's really hard to put yourself out there and say, okay, I'm just gonna stand here and play for everyone but also no one, because people don't have to stay there and listen to you, but people can if they want to. So it can be really scary to do that, but you really can try out new things. You can try out to be, every time you can try out to be a new personality, because no one knows you on the street. And I think that's really amazing, and you can really grow as an artist and overcome your performance fears, I would say, because in the beginning I was so scared to busk. Then the more and more you do it, the more it teaches you that it's the best stage. But I would say it's the busking scene in Berlin, at least it has changed a lot since COVID. We used to play really late at night and people would dance and be really free. And I think we both feel that since the pandemic, people have changed as well. Like it's more of there's more of a barrier, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe you want to say something?
Yeah. Well, I feel this way too. Like definitely the money has gone down more. Like the tip. I think also with cashless societies in a lot of places, Berlin is still very much cash, which is nice. But when you go to places that have no cash, people can't even tip you. Like they're like, so you have to have like a little, these card reader things, and it's not as
It loses the magic of it.
yeah, it's not as
too.
magical, but it works. It does work. It's like I know a lot of buskers that make most of their income off these, like sum up things or these little things that card readers basically. And we have one. We haven't actually used it yet, but yeah, I think that the money definitely has changed, and also, but it's still great because we still have friends that are busking full time, and I see videos of a million people dancing and things.
Yeah.
Like it's still awesome. I think it though. Also, what happened is the Ordnungsamt and the police and like every area in the world is different with what the rules with amplification, if it's loud, or if it's allowed and whatever. Berlin was kind of always illegal to busk with an amp, but decriminalized. Like people did it anyway. Now more and more, I'm hearing of friends getting their stuff either confiscated and they have to pay a fine to get it back, or these things are happening more and more. Yeah, and I had one fine.
So weed is more criminalized than busking now in Berlin.
Yes, I think so.
Gosh.
Yeah, but I mean, people still do it, and if you do it carefully, it's still okay, and always just polite. If they come to stop you, and you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know." But
it's really unfortunate because Berlin is such an artistic city. There's so many artists from all over the world that come here and want to share their music.
Yeah,
and we know a lot of people that still busk and they're doing great, and as we said, so many people do it, but a lot of our friends also quit because and we also kind of quit busking. I mean, we have a lot of shows now, and we don't do busking as a full income or something.
Yeah.
I still enjoy busking, but we don't do it as much as we used to do it. And every time I do busk, I feel worried that there's gonna be a police car stopping and gonna say something, and that takes away the freedom of it because you feel like let's not do it too loud, let's not have too many people here because and that's really annoying, and it's nothing criminal, it's just sharing music on the streets. Like it's not like we're selling drugs or something. It's really it's really unfortunate that they, even if they're not there, you think about it, and that's really taking away a lot of freedom, I think.
What do you think are the biggest challenges for artists today? I mean, what are your biggest challenges and how are you overcoming that, and how are you, I guess, surviving as artists in this volatile landscape where like each year is becoming more and more unrecognizable, especially in the music industry too?
I think the hardest thing for us maybe is just staying on top of things like knowing how much time to give social media and all these things, and how much is going into the writing process, and how to fund our productions, and because the live way that we do it, we're working with a lot of other session musicians and things like this and studios. So I think the funding is sometimes a bit tricky, but I would say those are our challenges. But we don't really focus too much on the amounts of streams and all these things. Like, of course, we want our music to get out there, and we want our posts to get recognition, all these things. But it's a slippery slope for sure. So I think that the least we let that dictate our feelings, and the more we just write good music and connect with people, that's the most important thing.
I think I find it hard to say when it's enough. Like, there's always more to do. You can always say, we can work more on this, we can work more on that, we can post more, we can write more. But it's also important to find a line to that and say, okay, this is work in a way also. And now I'm stopping this and I'm going to do something else, because you can always work. Like we're really happy to call this our work, but it also takes a lot of management. And
definitely.
So how do you find balance? How are you making it work at the moment? I believe you have had some success on TikTok, right? So you are putting a fair amount of time in the content, and it seems to be working here and there.
Yes, I mean we still do. We put our videos out, and we still do things. And it's I think we're just not posting like regularly. Like when we find something that we like, and we're like, oh, this is nice. We put it up there, and some things have gotten more traction than others. Actually, our biggest TikTok videos are us busking with crowd participation. So it's kind of funny because that is like also and also with our videos of us playing in a nature place. Those are the ones that do the best.
And it's always the ones that are the most spontaneous in everything we do. But every time we try, we don't like it because we feel that we get stressed or we're not ourselves as in anything that we do.
Yeah.
So I think it's a lesson for us to just, if we feel it, we do it, and if we don't feel it, we don't do it, because as soon as we force something, we can tell right away, and I think also the listener can tell that we just do it half-hearted, and we don't want to do that.
And everyone's different. Like every music project's different. I think that's just what works for us. Like I think that some artists do so well with trying, and some artists are great, like doing influencer things, and like these some are great.
I'm really impressed by people that have such a discipline and say, okay, every day I do a video. It's a lot of work to put in there, and it's
or release
great.
a single every month or every few days, whatever. Yeah. So it's amazing.
But for us, we kind of found that spontaneity is the best.
Yeah. But we still, of course, have goals of like, we want to get more productive in a lot of ways too. So it's not like we're totally content with our, like right now. But I think we have goals and what we want to try to do, but not to let it get like stressful where it takes away from the vibe of our music. Yeah.
Well, what are your goals? What's your dream? What would you love to happen with your music career?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think to continue to be able to, I'll speak for me. Maybe for me, it would be to like continue to make music for my living and for my life, and to continue to connect with people and write better songs and make great music that touches people's lives, and to just be able to do that, play more shows, and that's all related to like reach and continuing to have it being monetarily sustainable and everything.
Yeah, people ask me that too. Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? What is your goal? But to be honest, I'm so happy that I can do this and live from my art and fulfill my dream. We only live once, and like I'm really happy that I can fill my life with music. And as long as I can do that and share music and touch people with that, I'm so happy about that. So that's my goal, to continue that. But of course, continuing sharing music and reaching more people and being able to write more songs is the goal. But it's not like, it sounds so cheesy, but what is it? Not the goal is what
the process.
The process is the goal or something.
Yeah, to enjoy the process and to continue to like slow momentum continuing. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes they say sometimes you need to go slow to go fast.
Oh, can you say that one more time?
Sometimes they say sometimes you need to go slow to go fast.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Of course, if you go fast, you take shortcuts, and then your whole kind of foundation crumbles beneath you, and then you end up actually going a lot slower than if you went at a steady, manageable pace.
Nice. Yeah. I never heard. That's beautiful. That's a beautiful quote.
So spontaneous. I can't say it now. Spontaneity seems to be a big theme for your live music experience. Is that something you write about a lot in your songs as well? What tell me about the creative process a bit more, and what you tend to write about.
I think we do write about spontaneity, but also about adventure and self-love and traveling and taking time for yourself, finding out what makes you happy, and kind of also just our own processes in life. But we talk about that in love. But yeah. And the writing process is always different. Some songs we write together from the beginning to the end. Some songs Scott will come with an idea. He dreams a lot of songs, so every morning he wakes up with a new song idea, and sometimes that turns
Really?
into a song. Yeah, he has
Yeah.
the superpower.
Wow.
But I have millions of recordings. I have millions of recordings, and if you heard them, you'd be like, "What is this?" You know, it's mostly the like, like singing something weird in the phone
Can
that you
you
can't
play
really.
us your Can you play us your latest one?
Oh, sure. Let's see.
Oh, I don't know
I'm
if you want
scared.
to hear
I'm
this.
scared. I don't even know what the hell's happening here. Let's see. Okay, so I have a
Get it as
folder on my
close to
phone.
your mic as possible.
Yep, hold
Brilliant.
on a minute. This is gonna be really uncut because it's gonna be. I don't actually know what the last one was. Um,
Yeah, until you find it, maybe. So sometimes it's that, and sometimes it's me coming with an idea, and then I'm the kind of leader for the song, and we both kind of try to find
yeah,
like try to find a connection
yeah.
where we can both work on it.
Whoever kind of has the idea first, we kind of make them the creative director because otherwise, when we write songs fully from the beginning, then we're equal in this way.
Yeah.
And but sometimes if you have a song idea, you can say, okay, maybe no or yes for the other person's idea. But we kind of use this to, when you're writing with someone, it's always like a process of like, well, we both have the same idea. Which one do you choose? So we never really have problems with this. But when it's someone's song who came with like the original feeling, they're kind of more of the leader in that way. So that's worked for us in a lot of times.
Scott found the recording.
Here we go. I can't wait. An exclusive.
Yeah. That's what I have to listen
I just
to all
worried
the
this to
time.
be like a toilet flush because sometimes I'm using the bathroom and I wake up and I go pee and I'm like just recording it while I'm in the bathroom. I actually have not heard this. I don't even know. Yeah, I don't know. Like you can't. I don't even. I'm actually scared. I'm gonna pause it because I don't know what's coming next. Like I really don't know what. Sometimes it's like it has this like melody, and then I have my electric guitar that's not plugged in, and then I find out the melodies, and sometimes I'll continue this, and then throughout the day build on it, and I find that the morning is the subconscious is the most pure, so I can really do
Yeah.
really nice lyrics. Yeah, so I like this.
Yeah.
And Lila's dreamed a bunch of songs
And
too.
then
Not a bunch, I would say.
and then it tends to evolve until this beautiful. Well, I mean, harmonies are a major thing for you, which we love, and so tell us a bit more how it comes from like a random sleepy idea like that to how it ends up becoming what it is now with like a killer live set with amazing harmonies. Like tell us more about the harmony process because I don't think people understand how difficult harmonies are and how you kind of just make them sound so perfect.
Thanks. That's Lila. Thank you. That's Lila for sure. Like Lila's a harmony master. She's able to really make beautiful vocal harmonies. Like anytime there's a song I do, like kind of Lila naturally sings a perfect harmony. Like I've never seen her try to figure out a harmony. She just does it right away.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do. Also in the studio, I love tracking harmonies. I really love harmonies. I think it can decide so much about the song, and it can add so much. I really love it, and I'm so happy because it's nothing that is really hard for me to do. It's actually something so naturally. I sometimes cannot even sing the main melody because I have to sing a harmony. So it's perfect in our situation. I can just always sing a harmony to any song if it But if I sometimes I teach Scott a harmony, or he figures it out by himself as well. But it's just very naturally coming.
And Lila, your harmony is actually super unique because they're not like standard thirds that you do. It gets pretty jazzy. Why is that?
I love jazz. I study jazz actually, but I've always loved merging different styles together, and maybe that's where the jazzy side comes from. I think it's cool to mix different genres, and the classic third always is boring to me. And since not always, sometimes a song needs a normal third, but I think making it a little more interesting is always nice to switch it up, and I really like experiencing every set I do with harmonies. I always do something new because I don't want to get bored of my own songs. And when you perform them a lot, it can happen that after a while you're like, oh, here's the song that I just sang yesterday. But to not have this thought, I always want to create something new to make it more interesting to myself as well, and to enjoy the moment. In that way, I really enjoy doing new things. Maybe that's why there's always something jazzy in it.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. I love your harmonies. They're wicked.
We love your harmonies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for listeners here, we did have a cheeky sesh in my home studio where we did some 3-part harmonies, which I adore. I love 3-part harmonies.
Oh, and, it's so fun.
Yeah, we've got some nice little bit of content there. Awesome. Well, I think we might have skipped this bit. I want to hear your top 3 live music experiences and like any fun stories from tour that might not have been revealed to the general public.
Yeah.
From our own performances?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this podcast is about you today. So
yeah, you're right.
I think for me, the most fun gig that we've ever had together for me was our album release concert. It was our first time organizing.
Yes.
We sold out for us, a big venue, Machine House in Culture Brauwei.
Which one?
Culture Brauwei, Machine House. And it was so cool. We were so worried because we were really late to organizing we didn't know that we were waiting for the vinyls to come on time. Everything was really like the last minute, and we got the venue at the last minute.
And it's really overwhelming when you've never done this. You realize how many things have to be done for it.
Organizing the band, just so many things. And so we really, everything came together. We were so stressed until the show. And we knew this was going to happen. We're like, the second we're standing on that stage, everything will be okay. But leading up to it, it seemed like every step of the process went wrong in some way. Like the album graphics weren't working. We needed to put it into a different format. All these crazy things, like many, many things. And so finally at the end, it worked out, and we sold out the show, which was really surprising to us. And we had an amazing audience, amazing band that played with us, and that was my favorite. That was my favorite show ever, for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Damn, you give me so much FOMO.
Oh,
we wish you were there.
Next party.
And your favorite show abroad? Tell me more about that.
Oh, we have lots of cool ones.
Abroad.
You've played in like so many weird and wonderful places, like boats and all sorts as well. So I'm sure, you've got loads to talk about.
We have to think about this. There's a lot of cool ones.
In Korea, this one Jebi Dabong is kind of amazing. I love this place. I'll explain this one. Are you thinking another one?
Okay. Yes.
One of my favorites as well is this place called Jebi Dabong in Seoul, and it's this tiny cafe that's like the stage is in the basement. And they have all these little tiny, like almost preschool-sized chairs, so they can fit a lot of people in there. And it's a really vibey place, and it's historically really cool. There was a lot of like subversive poets there during the time of like the revolution and things. It really has like a history. And so and the top, when you walk in, you can see there's like a hole in the first floor, and then you can see the stage from above, and like that's where you play. But it's really tiny, like maximum. In the whole entire venue, maybe 50 people, I think. And that's maximum. Putting it close.
And everyone's like this.
Yeah.
And everyone sits on children chairs.
Yeah.
Did you say
yes,
that? Oh, yeah. Because it's so small, the space, so big chairs would only fit 20 people in there. So everyone sits on these small chairs. Yeah. And it's a really beautiful
wow.
vibe.
When you go to Seoul, you have to play here. This place is my favorite. And I've seen so many great concerts there. When I was living in Korea, I would just go there and see random bands, like Korean indie bands that I didn't know who they were before. And they were all incredible. Like really the quality of music that comes to this place. And they live stream it on YouTube as well now. And we played there twice. We did it in 2022 and then this past time. And I just love this place so much.
Yeah. I thought of another place. In Italy, we played in the middle of a maze.
Oh, yeah.
And that was really cool. It was a giant maze, and
Gosh,
we
how
played
did
in the
people
middle
even
of it.
get there?
Yeah, people had
How,
to
how,
get
how
their
did you
full
find it?
cars by the owners. They drove them there because they probably
I
would
was
have
doing
gotten
so far
lost.
there.
Yeah, that would be cool so
Brilliant.
far for sure.
Yeah, that was really cool. And and also we played
Wow.
on a moving bike in Berlin,
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Silent Moves is a really cool
and
concert
everyone is
series.
following
Yeah.
on their bikes with headphones. That was a cool gig as well. But yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, that
So
would be a
cool.
cool collab so far. So far and Silent Moves would be really interesting and cool.
I'd love that. That would be so good.
Yeah.
So, before we wrap up, so you guys are independent, you're self-managed, you're self-booked. Is there a particular reason you choose to keep that creative control? Is it something you're thinking about later down the line? What's your angle on that and your perspective?
I think for booking, we love if someone like in Korea, for example, we have a friend who's like a booker there, and so we do work with bookers sometimes for different areas when we go. And we had a guy in Italy who booked us some shows, and I think that's amazing. I love working with bookers as long as like we are free to be like, okay, we don't want to play 6 days a week and moving from city to city. Like we also like to enjoy our time while we're touring. So that, and also of
Mm-hmm.
course the percentage that the booker takes is important for us. Like we need to still be like, earning a living after these gigs and
Make
things.
ends meet, yeah.
Yeah, that's for the booking thing. So, but we do like booking, but we're also open to working with bookers. And creative wise, I don't think we could ever be in a situation where someone's telling us what we can and can't release. Like even if it was a big label and stuff, like I think we have so much. If there was a label that was like, or like a management thing that was just like, hey, we want to just help you do what you're doing better, like and reach out to more people and have a few of the boring tasks taken away that are for us hard. That would be amazing. But I think it wouldn't be right if we were like shaped in some creative way for commercial reasons. I don't think we could do that really.
Yeah, I would say the same thing.
Awesome. And so you guys have been doing this we're full-time musicians for, I guess, several years now, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
What's
Together
like
6 years.
thing you know now? What's one thing you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
For me, before I started, I just thought it was never possible to be a musician because I feel like society doesn't make it easy on people that want to choose a creative career. And from the beginning on, people tell you to not do it because it's going to be hard and you can't earn money and you can't live a fulfilled life, I guess. But I think it stops so many creative people from doing what they love. And I'm really
So why do you
fortunate
do
to
it?
have a family that, supported me with this.
Supportive, yeah.
But yeah, I think to believe in yourself and to try it out and it works. So that's maybe I would have even started earlier to do all of this. I think that's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I learned so many things in the last years. So many things I can't even name. But I mean, I guess I would say like for our recording things, some songs it's important to just if you're playing with other musicians to practice as much as possible with the other artists. Because for us two together, we can kind of go into a studio with as a duo and it's easier for us. But when you're working with different drummers, different bass players, like it's really important to prepare as much as possible before actually going into the studio session. Because I think we've definitely had a lot of songs that we didn't use because of that, because we weren't tight as a band, like as a unit. So I would say that is something that I learned and am still learning. It's still hard to do that. And just like little logistic things with booking our album release show. I learned book early, all this thing, and same with the learn about have someone who knows Photoshop or one of these kind of skills is such a huge thing because that was really hard for us. We tried to do it for ourselves and we do not know graphic design, and we were very lucky to meet a friend who's actually a professional graphic designer. We met her we found out about her doing this last minute. So these are kind of things that we would prepare better next time.
Spontaneous again.
Yeah, too spontaneous for that one. That was really stressful.
But it worked out. And I think if you believe and that you can do it, you can always do it. There's always
do it
a way.
early.
There's always a way.
Here,
Yeah,
here.
make it work,
Yeah.
you know?
I think I got a few gray hairs, but
Love
we made
that.
it work.
For sure. I don't even look at mine. I started having my first ones recently. So when people listen to your debut album, which is absolutely amazing, because of people who don't know about you yet, they've only heard the voice memo from earlier.
Oh
So
no,
when we
that's
hear
not a good reference.
the fully finished album, what? Do you want to share a message or feelings that you hope listeners take away from that when they do?
When listening to our music, you mean?
Yeah, well, most notably the debut album.
Yeah. As we recorded this on a lot of different travels and adventures, it represents that for us as well. And all the songs have different stories and different genres. And I think it's an adventure listening to this album, because every single song has a different story and a different style. And we really enjoy doing different things every time and trying out a new thing and not being stuck on one theme. So I think expecting that is good. And what else?
And listen to it while you're moving. I think if you're like walking or biking or driving or flying or training in a train, I feel like that's where it really would touch you the most. Because I think our friends that have told us really lovely feedback about it, it's always in these settings. They're traveling and they're trying to have a moment for themselves. I think that's where it's the most meaningful. In nature, it's a moving album. I feel like if you're sitting on a couch, it's maybe less impactful.
Yeah, you should be able to dance a little bit.
Love that. I'll do that next time for sure. And just to finish, what are you most excited about this year, and any upcoming things that we should know about to keep our eyes open for? And
we're working on a lot of music right now, and we are getting ready to record our next album. We want to be a little faster than with our last album, and we're not gonna wait 5 more years. So I think there's gonna be new music soon, and
lots of gigs in the summer, and writing and playing. So I think in the spring we'll start playing regularly again, and then spring and summer and fall, if you're in Europe and things, we'll definitely be playing a lot. And I would say those 2 things.
Yeah.
Just in Berlin or worldwide?
Worldwide.
Mostly Europe in the summer.
Let's go.
But we don't know.
We don't know. As we said, spontaneity is an important theme.
So where's the best place people should find you and your music and interact with you online or in person?
Yeah.
Both. We're everywhere on every platform, I think, that shows music. Instagram and YouTube and all these things. But also you might find us on the streets somewhere in Berlin or somewhere else. So keep your eyes and
what's
ears
the handle
open.
for your social media?
Scott and Lila. And that's on
Scott and Lila.
Yeah, AND Lila LILA.
Easy.
And 2 T's, Scott. And we're good about answering our messages on all these platforms. Facebook we have as well, and so anyone can get in touch with us at any time. Email is on our website and things. And Scott and Lila, if you search that, it will be anywhere.
Awesome. Well, Scott, Lila, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for sharing your story. You guys are honestly one of my favorite acts here in Berlin and that we have at So Far shows. You really put a smile on everybody's faces, and now I'm compelled to listen to this album again, but whilst moving. So
thank you so much, Josh. Thanks, so wonderful to talk to you.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah,
we can't wait to play another So Far Sounds soon.
Yes.